So we decided to take a little bit of a different approach this time. We designed the clinical trial to be available to different drugs. So the trial that we designed with the National Institutes of Health, the NIH, is a trial that will be what we call randomized adaptive trials. So the trial will be able to test several different drugs sequentially. The first drug that we're going to test is remdesivir. So this is the medication that has already a track record of a viral replication inhibition. So we looked into in vitro and animal studies and found that this medication has this ability to inhibit the viral replication. So the idea here is to test this medication as the first one in the trial. So half of the patients will receive remdesivir and the other half is going to receive the placebo. And the idea here is to run this trial as fast as possible to find if this medication works. If this medication works, we're gonna work in what's called an adaptive process. The medication will be transferred to the control arm, and we're going to bring a new medication and test a second medication, and then we can test a third medication, and so forth. So the idea here is to have this clinical trial running as long as possible. We have now a plan to run for at least 3 years, and we're going to test multiple drugs. Hopefully, we're going to find one or more therapies that can just improve the clinical symptoms and the survival of these patients with severe COVID-19. Very important to mention that the trial really is focused on the patients with a moderate and severe disease. As you know, 80 to 90% of the patients today will have just a mild disease. They will basically get cured just on their own. They will not need any specific medications. The focus of this clinical trial is to try to help the people that need the most, the people that are going to have the severe disease, the disease that affect the lungs and can cause pneumonia. I cannot tell you any specifics about the first patient enrolled in the trial, but I can tell you that the patient it keeps improving and actually was discharged from the biocontainment unit back to the quarantine yesterday. So meaning that the patient really had a significant improvement being the clinical trial. We, as I mentioned before, is a randomized trial, double-blind, so we don't know which medication, if the patient received the placebo or the active drug, but the patient improved and the patient was discharged from the hospital. We have other 14 patients that are in the quarantine. That means they do not require to be admitted to the hospital because they don't have any severe disease. They all have mild disease. So at this point, patients are doing well. They're improving. But we are observing very carefully because what we've noticed with this infection that sometimes it takes about a week and a half for the disease progress and get into the lungs and cause pneumonia. So we have to keep very close attention to each one of these patients.